Hi, my name is Tom Pappalardo. My website is politicsandpop.com. I'm also a blogger on Huffington Post. So the purpose of this video is to show how Hillary can hurt women in the long run. I believe actually more than Trump can hurt women. There's two big ways that I'm going to point out that I see this happening. Now, there's no denying Trump's it's basically would be the misogynist in chief, which would be a terrible thing. But Hillary is even more terrible, and I'll get into that shortly. So please, I ask people to just open minds up a little bit to kind of look at the big picture here. Now, there are these two ways that I'm referring to I believe could really devastate women. And the first one, what I'd like voters or viewers to do is to try to shift from voter mode into parent mode to fully appreciate what I'm saying. And if you're not a parent, just try to imagine yourself as a parent. So, probably parents' biggest fear, certainly one of their biggest, is the negative influence that both society and outsiders, such as friends and acquaintances, can have on their children as they grow up. Now, with this in mind, I see Hillary as a big-time booby trap for parents and their children. For example, if Hillary is perceived by teenagers, even preteens, as being a liar, a cheater, immoral, a rich, privileged politician with a big-time double standard, if they believe that she in fact lied and cheated her way to become president as the first woman president, can anyone objectively deny there's a good chance that Hillary as president will have a negative effect on many young people as they're in this stage where they're basically developing their values, defining their personality, the kind of person that they'll be? So that's one effect I see, and I'll get into more details on that. As well as how will these children, these youngsters, feel towards their parents, in the sense that if they voted for Hillary, knowing what people know and what people believe about Hillary, that very possibly that they will see their parents who support Hillary in a negative light. Now, parents, they preach moderation, self-control, following rules. Now, this is quite in contrast to the image that we're getting, I would say very clear image, of Hillary as someone who breaks rules, lives by the double standard in a really hard-edged way. So, parents, people who care about parents, do you really want to risk having this kind of conversation with one of your youngsters, especially and most emotionally charged in this case with, I believe, a mother and a daughter? Okay? So, let's say some young, bright, big-hearted teenager is having a conversation about presidential politics with their mother, about Hillary. So, I imagine it going something like this. Mom, you really like Hillary? You're really all behind her, but, she follows her own rules. She lies. She likes war. She's untrustworthy. And if this daughter's even, maybe done some research, which is very possible, kids are bright, access to all sorts of information. So a daughter might ask Mom, well, Mom, do you know that Hillary, as Secretary of State, approved the sale of billions of dollars of fighter jets to Saudi, even though they treat women terribly in that country, and before she was Secretary of State, they would never have given it permission to make this purchase, but Hillary allowed it because Saudi gave a bribe, a $10 million bribe, to the Clinton Foundation. So, in light of all this, if a child is really into it, and I imagine that many young women would be into it with the thought, especially if their mother's all excited, that they're going to be taking, they're going to be paying attention to it, maybe even more than usual, that they're really looking at the details, that a lot of them are going to question their parents and maybe even lose respect. And whatever respect children may have for their parents, this is as important a commodity, this is as valuable as anything a parent has in dealing with their children and for their own peace of mind and for the benefit of their kids. Now, being a teenager as an adolescent, this is a bad time for objectivity. And I really see this magnified for people who vote for Hillary. It's like a time bomb. Because on the other side of the spectrum, some teens will take the message that also believe that Hillary's priorities are low on morality and truth, as many said believe, and they could easily use, some of them could easily use it to justify their own actions at a time when they're shaping their values. So it's very possible, even likely I believe, that a vote for Hillary and a victory for Hillary is in essence telling a whole generation her flaws are acceptable behavior. And Hillary's biggest flaw is her selfishness, extraordinary selfishness. And selfish behavior is the biggest battle parents fight with their teenage children. Now, we all know developmental psychology, adolescence is a time when it's important that an individual focuses on themselves because they're really forming their personality. And as a result of that, they're going to be selfish and self-absorbed. That just comes, and parents' role, natural role, is to pull in the reins and to get them to see that, get them to get out of their heads and get out of these selfish tendencies. However, these same parents are trying to teach their children self-discipline and self-control. Their kids are going to see that they're supporting someone, Hillary, who is committed one of the most selfish acts I can ever think of. And that would be by using this email server. She definitely put her secrets way above, in importance, national security secrets. In essence, she placed her own needs above the needs of 300 million people. To me, this is an act of pure cold-blooded selfishness. So voting for her can easily and rightfully be interpreted as approval, especially by tunnel-visioned type teens who are desperate to justify their own selfish behavior, because teenagers don't handle criticism as a rule. They're really sensitive at that time, and the whole criticism issue is big, so they're really looking for ways to dodge it. Now, these same teens that may use Hillary's selfishness to justify their own acts, they're also aware that the president is supposed to have a higher standard than ordinary citizens. Yet here's Hillary acting incredibly selfish, super selfish, mega selfish. So this really truly muddies the waters as they're trying to figure out right from wrong and monitoring their behavior, trying to do what they think works for them. So as a parent, if I was a parent in these days, and I was thinking about voting for Hillary, which I'm not, I would be really worried about the message that I'm sending out to my children. Because it can as I said, can very easily be taken as approval for selfish, immoral, lying, cheating ways. That's what I believe. Maybe some parents supporting Hillary don't believe that, but I'm quite confident there's going to be many kids, probably in the millions, that see it this way. And one of those reasons that I'm confident that it's going to be the case is that we know the millennials do not trust Hillary Clinton. Millennials are also well known to have really acute BS radar. And everyone who remembers what it's like to be a teenager knows that the opinions of people closer to their age usually hold more sway than their parents' opinions. So you got a whole generation of millennials that don't trust Hillary. You got a whole generation of teenagers that are probably going to be more influenced by this group than their parents. So where do you think they're going to end up? What do you think they're going to end up believing as a whole? So I really hope voters take this warning very seriously, because it could, and I believe will have a long-term effect if she becomes our president. God forbid. So, one warning issued, here comes another. The next way that I think that Hillary could really hurt women, and that is for future presidential candidates. So here we have Hillary, who has shown there's so much evidence so that she is an abuser of power. Tons of circumstantial evidence. Cheating to win an election, her time as taking bribes as Secretary of State to do favors for countries and other individuals. So the likelihood, especially that she's gotten away with it, is just going to fuel her to do even more. So to me, it's just almost a certainty, or is a certainty, that she's going to abuse power like crazy when she becomes president. Just like a certain recent president by the name of George W. Bush, who left office in disgrace. The parallels between Hillary and Bush are astounding and powerful. Both cheated to win elections, assuming she becomes president. Bush started an illegal war. Hillary's dying to start a war with Syria for whatever reason. And there's no doubt that both Bush contributed to the devastation of the middle class, and Hillary's clearly on track to do even more damage. So as a result, the country is going to be in terrible shape when she leaves the office, just as it was with Bush. And her leaving in disgrace can only harm future women who want to run for president, and who very likely could be great presidents. But Hillary's going to hurt that. Now, another little bit of evidence is that look at Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher left office as Prime Minister of the UK in 1990, so it's over 25 years since she left office, and there hasn't been another woman who has been the Prime Minister of the UK since then. We also know she was a warmonger like Hillary, and like Hillary, she was determined to prove her mettle as a leader to be as aggressive as any man. It seems pretty evident that that's both of their modus operandi. So, it brings us to the topic of, why, at least why I would believe a woman might be better at being president than men. And right off the bat, the thing that jumps out at me is that I would expect women, I would hope women, would place more value on the sanctity of life versus the guys getting caught up in testosterone-fueled wars. I would also hope that women in power would give more value to the concept of love and respect over greed and ego. This is to be proven yet, but I would love a test case to see just how, if this is in fact going to be the case. So if Hillary goes in, there's no doubt in my mind she's going to be a wrecking crew and do all sorts of damage, which no doubt would result in making it more difficult for the next woman to become president. One last little bit like all of these, but I think this was going to hit women. Women are going to feel even a little more betrayed than men over this issue, and that would be net neutrality. I am totally convinced that if she becomes president, she is going to let net neutrality die, and she doesn't have to lift a finger, at least publicly, to do it. Because for the umpteenth time, Republicans are going to try to kill it. So all she has to do as a leader of the Democratic Party is do a terrible job of defending it. In fact, behind closed doors, twist some arms, make some deals to make sure that it dies. And that eliminates, or that hinders, the only real outlet that she has been unable to control, which is the internet, for access information. And she can do it without getting any blame or getting very little blame. It's a real win-win for her. So, it gets me, winding it down here. And what I really want to say is that everyone needs to vote. I don't care how discouraged you are about the choices, we need to vote. And I believe very, very much that more important than who is the next president is that the voters of this country send a very clear message that status quo politicians are a very endangered species. And the only way to do that, to send that message, is to not vote for the only status quo politician on the ballot of the 4 candidates on the ballot throughout the country, on ballots throughout the country. Hillary's the only status quo politician. Of those 4 options, Jill Stein is the only candidate who is both a non-status quo politician and a moral option. So it's quite obvious that I'm going to vote for Jill Stein based on that logic. And I hope that many other people do as well. Now, for those listening that are in agreement with me on most of this, on Jill Stein, and see the logic of what I'm suggesting here, that I hope you take these out-of-the-box ideas and use them on your friends. That, I assume many of you run into a brick wall trying to turn around a Hillary voter. It's a shame that the WikiLeaks reveals have not had put more of a dent in the support for Hillary, for people who want to vote for Hillary. I mean, it's obvious through these WikiLeaks emails, these Podesta emails, that she's a super corrupt politician, and it'll be super harmful to our country. It's the only logical conclusion. But people are still fighting it, resisting it. I assume because people just don't want to admit they made a mistake, in part. And that's been something that's been going on ever since I've been following elections. It takes guts to admit you made a mistake, and people don't have the courage to deal with the guilt and shame of maybe voting for someone in an important position, so they keep making the same mistake over and over again. So, folks, that's it. I hope you find these ideas of interest to you. I hope you pass them along, and I believe that they could be helpful. And so please leave comments. Check out my website, politicspop.com. Thanks for listening. So I hope everyone take good care of themselves.